Today we're examining a matchup between two of the most legendary figures from the history of the Soul Society. Yamamoto Genryusai Shigekuni, the founding commander of the Gotei 13, whose Zanpakuto burns with the power of the sun itself, versus Yachiru Unohana, the first person to ever bear the title of Kinpachi, and a master of over 8,000 different sword styles. Before the Gotei 13 was formed, she was dubbed as the most notorious criminal within the Soul Society. Both of the combatants in today's video helped to forge the original Gotei 13 into what Yubaka described as the most powerful generation to ever exist. They were a brutal mob of killers who brought order through overwhelming force. Hopefully by the end of this video you'll understand why Yamamoto vs Unohana isn't even close. Let's first establish the rules of the fight. This battle would take place on neutral ground with no environmental advantages to either of the combatants. There's no outside interference or prep time, no external factors. Both opponents will be at their respective peaks that we've seen from the series. Yamamoto has full access to Zanka no Tachi, his Bankai that concentrates Ryujinjaka's flames into devastating directional techniques, while Unohana has complete access to her Zanpakuto's Bankai Minazuki, the blood manipulation technique that she used to repeatedly kill and revive Kinpachi Zaraki. The win conditions for this fight are death or complete incapacitation. Neither combatants can retreat and only one person is going to walk away. Let's now cover a basic overview of each of the characters, beginning with Yamamoto. His history stretches back to over 2,000 years ago, as he is one of the oldest Shinigami in existence within the Soul Society. He founded the Gotei 13 around 1,000 years before the main story, assembling the most dangerous criminals and warriors from across the Soul Society. The authority that he has wasn't built upon the titles that he received after, it was forged through raw power that made even the most vicious killers in the Soul Society submit to him. His body bears numerous scars from centuries of battle, evidence of countless conflicts where he sustained serious damage but yet emerged victorious. Old Man Yamamoto defeated Yubaka during the original Quincy invasion. He sealed the Quincy King away for a millennium. When Aizen orchestrated his betrayal, even as a transcendent being, he admitted that he couldn't defeat Yamamoto in direct combat without specific countermeasures. This led to the creation of Wonderwise, a modified Arrancar designed for a singular purpose: to seal away the flames of Ryujinjaka. Wonderwise could prevent the blade from creating new flames while sealing already existing flames into his own body, making him the perfect counter to what would otherwise be an unstoppable force. Yamamoto famously declared that no Shinigami born in the last 1,000 years had surpassed him. This specific wording is crucial. Born in the last 1,000 years technically excludes contemporaries from his own generation like Unohana, who is likely just as ancient as he is. This statement speaks to his dominance over subsequent generations rather than claiming superiority over every Shinigami who ever existed. During his battle against the fake Yubaka, Yamamoto's Bankai began transforming the Soul Society's environment. The passive heat depleted all moisture from an area at least the size of the Serite. Toshiro Hitsugaya's Bankai became completely unusable because ice melted instantly under the presence of his Bankai. Unohana herself observed from a distance and realized that if Yamamoto's Bankai remained active for too long, it would incinerate the entire Soul Society. Ryujinjaka is the oldest and most powerful fire-type Zanpakuto in the Soul Society's history. His Shikai techniques include Jogaku Enjo, flame walls that successfully imprisoned Aizen, Gin, and Tozen at the same time, 3 captain-level opponents. Ennetsu Jigoku summons massive pillars of flame capable of incinerating areas far larger than entire cities. Then we have his Bankai Zanka no Tachi, which compresses all of the flames of his Zanpakuto into the blade itself. The worn, charred appearance disguises the most devastating power in the Gotei 13's arsenal. It automatically activates 2 directional techniques when it is released. Zanka no Tachi East concentrates flames along the blade's edge, creating a cutting surface that doesn't burn, it actually erases. Anything touched is deleted from existence instantaneously. Even Blut Veen, the Quincy's strongest defensive technique, shattered on contact with Zanka no Tachi East. Zanka no Tachi West manifests as invisible heat armor, reaching 15 million degrees Celsius, the temperature at the core of the sun. Physical contact becomes impossible. Anyone attempting to strike Yamamoto vaporizes before their attack even lands. The passive heat destroys the environment, evaporating all water and moisture across the Soul Society. Zanka no Tachi South summons an army from the ashes of every opponent that Yamamoto has killed. The corpses, numbering into the trillions, erupt with enough force to shatter Quincy defensive barriers, fighting with coordination as extensions of Yamamoto's will. He can specifically select which corpses to summon, allowing for psychological warfare against opponents who recognize the dead that are now facing them. And lastly, we have Zanka no Tachi North, which condenses all flames into a single concentrated slash that incinerates whatever it touches completely out of existence. When used against Royd Lloyd, it instantly destroyed the Sternritter's torso and arm, leaving no trace behind. We're now moving on to the overview of Unohana. Before becoming the Serene Captain of the 4th Division, Retsu Unohana was Yachiru Unohana, the most notorious criminal in the Soul Society's history. She gave herself the name Yachiru, which means 8,000 styles, declaring her mastery over that many different sword techniques. She wandered Rukongai, killing indiscriminately, searching for a worthy opponent, but no one could stand against her. When Yamamoto formed the original Gotei 13, he personally sought her out despite her criminal background. She ended up becoming the founder and first captain of the 11th Division, establishing its tradition of bloodthirsty combat. The Bleach databooks explicitly describe her as one of the strongest members of that legendary generation. She eventually encountered a young boy with monstrous potential in the outskirts of Rukongai. This would be the future Kinpachi Zaraki. This child possessed power equal to her own, and for the first time in her existence, she experienced genuine joy in combat. Their battle was evenly matched, with the young Zaraki driven to his limits. Both of the warriors experienced a thrill that they had never felt before, fighting at the same level. However, Zaraki became terrified of defeating her, and ending up losing the first worthy opponent that he had faced off against. This led him to unconsciously suppress his own power. This is the very child who would later prove strong enough to be the successor of the Kinpachi title, and upon activating his Shikai and Bankai, be able to rival some of the most powerful Sternritter within Yhwach's army. When their initial battle concluded all those years ago, Unohana voluntarily relinquished the Kinpachi title to this child, recognizing something greater in him than she had possessed herself. This changed her fundamentally. She ended up becoming the captain of the 4th Division, studying under Tenjiro Korinji in order to develop her Kaido, as she became one of the Soul Society's greatest healers. But beneath this serene exterior, the original Yachiru Unohana waited. Unohana's most significant feats come from her final battle with Zaraki in the 1000-year Blood War arc within the depths of Muken. She repeatedly killed him throughout their prolonged fight, striking with such precision that even his monstrous durability couldn't save him. Each fatal blow triggered her Bankai's healing to resurrect him, continuing the cycle. She deflected his Zanpakuto strikes with her bare hands, blocked attacks with her feet, integrated unarmed techniques seamlessly into her swordsmanship, and despite living for almost 2 millennium and fighting through countless battles, her body bears only a single scar across her chest from her first encounter with a young Zaraki. In stark contrast, Yamamoto's body is covered in numerous scars from centuries of conflict. This singular scar on Unohana's body speaks to defensive skill and combat prowess that allowed her to emerge from a millennia of warfare nearly unscathed. Official databooks place her combined attack power and spiritual pressure among the highest of all captains. One of the databooks even suggests that when angered, Unohana might possess the greatest attack power of any captain. When Aizen revealed his betrayal, her analytical abilities immediately deduced the corpse was an elaborate illusion. When Rudbon and his Espada level forces confronted the Shinigami in Hueco Mundo, they chose immediate tactical retreat rather rather than engaging with her. Minazuki manifests completely different forms in its Shikai and Bankai. In Shikai, it becomes a massive green manta ray, with its applications including transportation and healing. Injured individuals placed in its mouth are stored in its stomach where powerful medicines heal their wounds. Her Bankai Minazuki uses different kanji for the word, meaning all things end. Unohana draws a hand along the blade, liquefying it into a blood-like substance that floods the battlefield, creating a lake of blood. When this happens, she gains multiple capabilities. She launches slashing waves of blood at range with cutting power that maintains lethality despite being liquid. By rapidly swinging her sword, she generates simultaneous barrages that are difficult to evade. Defensively, she can even create a rotating blood sphere that proved capable of repelling even Zaraki initially. The blood possesses corrosive properties that dissolve organic matter rapidly, melting through skin, muscle, and tendons within moments. Most crucially, her Bankai provides passive continuous healing throughout activation. Wounds heal automatically without any conscious effort, allowing her to fight without a care in the world. This regeneration extends to fatal injuries, enabling repeated engagement at full intensity despite accumulating damage. Beyond a Zanbakuto, Unohana possesses mastery across all different Shinigami disciplines. These are over 8,000 different sword styles, hand-to-hand combat integration, concealed weapons, and Kido mastery extending to healing and offensive applications without incantation. Let's now compare each of their abilities. Yamamoto's Ryujin Jaka represents overwhelming destruction that is concentrated into fire manipulation at its absolute peak. His abilities scale to environmental catastrophe, capable of affecting entire dimensions with passive heat alone. So everything that exists is there to be incinerated and consumed. There's no subtlety, no healing, no defensive techniques beyond passive heat protection. Unohana's Minazuki operates with tactical versatility. Her Bankai combines offense, defense, and regeneration for the purposes of prolonged combat engagement. Where Yamamoto seeks instant obliteration, Unohana's style accommodates extended battles, using healing to outlast enemies while corrosive blood wears them down. In terms of raw spiritual pressure, Yamamoto's defined the Soul Society's power ceiling for over a millennium. Even enemies like Aizen acknowledge this overwhelming power as a fact. Unohana ranks among the highest of all captains according to official databooks, as she's referred to as one of the strongest members of the original Gotei 13, the generation described as the most powerful in the history. But the critical difference is that Yamamoto's Bankai threatens the Soul Society's existence if it's maintained for too long. His flames evaporate moisture across dimensions. His attacks erase matter from existence. Unohana's Bankai excels at targeted lethality rather than environmental catastrophe. Her corrosive blood dissolves, her attacks cut precisely, but she is not generating reality-threatening destruction. Both of them operate at captain-level strength minimally. Yamamoto killed Wonderwise through pure hand-to-hand combat after his Zanbakuto was sealed, as he punched through the Arrancar's defenses. Unohana deflects Zaraki's strikes with bare hands, matching the physical strength of someone who is well known for their overwhelming power. In terms of speed, both of them are easily at faster than light levels. Yamamoto closed the distance on fake Yuhobak before he could even react. Unohana maintained pace with Kinpachi throughout extended combat. When it comes to technique, it diverges significantly. Yamamoto's style emphasizes raw power and straightforward application. He wins through overwhelming force. Unohana's mastery of 8,000 sword styles represents the very peak of technical refinement. She analyzes fighting styles mid-combat, identifies weaknesses, and adapts approaches accordingly. Her centuries of experience translate into instinctive awareness that anticipates threats before they even develop. And this perfectly leads us to the intelligence of Unohana, which manifests through analytical observation. Her medical knowledge grants her with comprehensive anatomical understanding for efficient damage or healing. She immediately recognized Aizen's fake corpse deception during the Soul Society arc. Against Zaraki, she continuously evaluated patterns, noting habits like one-handed fighting. Yamamoto's intelligence, on the other hand, operates through authority and decisive action. He recognized Gin as dangerous before Aizen's conspiracy. He made tactical decisions, shaping the Soul Society society's military policy for over 1,000 years. His approach favors overwhelming force over intricate planning. Yamamoto's long experience is focused on commanding, leading, and making strategic decisions, while Unohana's experience is focused on individual combat, whether if this involves fighting directly herself or healing individuals afterwards. When looking at their durability and stamina, Yamamoto survived battles that would kill most captains. His confrontation with Aizen during the Fate Karakura Town arc left him with severe burns and a missing arm, but yet he continued functioning, to the point where he could confront Yhwach during the 1000-Year Blood War arc. The numerous scars covering his body tell the story of someone who's endured catastrophic damage repeatedly throughout his career. However, durability becomes somewhat irrelevant when discussing Zanka no Tachi West, the 15 million degree armor which makes physical contact with Yamamoto impossible when his Bankai is active. Comparatively, Unohana withstood attacks from Zaraki that obliterated lesser opponents, and then you have the passive healing of her Bankai which allows her to engage in prolonged fights. She was stabbed through vital organs repeatedly, she sustained instantly fatal injuries, yet continued fighting because damage healed almost immediately. Her single scar from the young Zaraki remains the only permanent mark on her body despite hundreds of years of combat. This is a testament to her defensive mastery that Yamamoto's scarred body contrasts sharply against. When it comes to the stat of stamina, I think it does slightly favor Unohana because healing allows indefinite sustained combat without damage accumulation. Yamamoto must manage his Bankai's environmental destruction. The question is whether if the fight is going to last long enough for this to matter. Let's have a look at each of their ultimate abilities, with Zanka no Tachi operating on 4 simultaneous levels, each capable of ending fights independently. East provides existence erasure, contact means deletion, West creates absolute defense through invisible 15 million degree heat, close quarters combat becomes impossible, South summons a vast army of the dead numbering in the trillions, North delivers concentrated incineration leaving nothing to regenerate from. The combination creates a combatant with no apparent weaknesses, defense through heat armor, offense through erasure and incineration, support through undead armies. He can even make the entire battlefield hostile to everyone except himself. The weakness for Yamamoto is maintaining such a powerful Bankai which threatens the Soul Society itself. Then you have Unohana's ultimate ability, which is a Bankai Minazuki, which provides her with that tactical flexibility and sustained capability. The Blood Lake transforms the battlefield into her domain, extending range far beyond normal blade reach. Her defensive Blood Sphere enables her to repel attacks from opponents with superior raw power. The corrosive properties of her blood also create time limits on survival, and continuous healing represents her ultimate advantage in extended fights. She trades blows freely, accepting crippling injuries, but she emerges unscathed moments later. The weakness is that her Bankai lacks instant kill potential. Corrosive blood dissolves over time rather than instantly. Slashing attacks cut but they don't erase. Healing allows survival but it doesn't increase offensive output. And Unohana is going to win prolonged battles through attrition rather than overwhelming force, which Yamamoto definitely specializes in. What are the wildcards of this matchup? When it comes to Unohana, it's definitely her analytical abilities. She can identify weaknesses instinctively. If Yamamoto's Bankai has any exploitable gap, she's going to find it. Yamamoto's wildcard is his absolute willingness to sacrifice everything for victory. This creates scenarios where he might escalate beyond what Unohana can survive even with her healing. If complete destruction is necessary, then he has the tools to deliver it. So what's the final verdict? When it comes to physical combat, I think it edges to Yamamoto through sheer force, though Unohana's superior technique keeps it competitive. Intelligence also favors Yamamoto through experience commanding at strategic levels. Durability does get slightly complicated, with Yamamoto's heat armor providing him with absolute protection. Unohana's healing provides her with rapid recovery, but I think Yamamoto's heat armor definitely trumps Unohana's healing. Stamina does slightly favor Unohana, but only if the fight extends long enough. Ultimate abilities represent the decisive category for most of these matchups in Bleach. Zanka no Tachi East erases anything that is touched. And this is damage that Unohana cannot even heal from because the matter is ceasing to exist. A single successful strike ends the fight permanently. Zanka no Tachi West creates insurmountable defense, and the 15 million degree armor vaporizes anything approaching before contact. Unohana's combat style requires melee range, where her sword skills dominate. Against Yamamoto's Bankai, approaching is going to become impossible. Yamamoto's Bankai depletes all moisture, and if Unohana's Bankai creates a lake of blood, then this is going to be made up of 80% water. The moment that she activates Minazuki while Yamamoto maintains Zanka no Tachi, her blood lake would evaporate. The foundation of her entire strategy disappears into steam. Without the blood lake, she loses extended range. Her defensive barrier is ineffective, she can no longer continuously heal, and her corrosive attacks won't work. She is reduced to standard swordsmanship against someone who erases her with a single touch. Unohana's path to victory requires impossible execution. She must survive opening moves, find non-existent gaps in Yamamoto's defense, close the distance through vaporizing heat, land strikes before she is erased, and overcome the heat armor of Yamamoto, and repeat this multiple times. Literally, the stars need to align perfectly on the best day of the week for her to even have a remote chance of winning. Yamamoto's path to victory is more straightforward. He activates his Bankai. Passive heat evaporates Unohana's blood lake within seconds, eliminating her Bankai's advantages. She attempts closing the distance, but the heat armor vaporizes her before she reaches striking range. He touches her once with Zanka no Tachi East, and she's erased from existence permanently. There's no complicated strategy required for him. His power operates at scales, making traditional combat irrelevant. And this is why Yamamoto vs Unohana isn't even close. I even ran a community poll on the channel, and we had over 42,000 votes, with 94% overwhelmingly believing that Yamamoto would win, while only 4% believed that Unohana would win. I honestly think that those 4% of votes had come from Isane herself, as the overwhelming consensus here reflects everything that I've said within this video. This isn't a competitive fight. Yamamoto completely outclasses Unohana. But we have reached the point of the video where I want to hand over the discussion to all of you. What are your thoughts about Yamamoto vs Unohana? If there's anything that I've forgotten to mention which could significantly shift the tide of the battle, then let me know by continuing the discussion in the comments. And lastly, thanks for making it to the end of this one, and I look forward to seeing you in my next Bleach video.
A massive thank you goes out to all of my amazing Patreon supporters for helping to make this video possible. If you also want to support the channel and see your name in the end of my videos, then check out my Patreon, which has loads of perks like early video access and so much more. Thank you for sticking around till the end of the video, and whatever you contribute will mean a lot to me.